What are you going to start off by telling us about?
Let's start still with the French presidential election. The primary vote, of course, for the Socialist candidate in that election is coming up in just 5 days. So all the candidates have been setting out their stalls in the papers recently. The frontrunner, François Hollande, has given a front-page interview to Libération today. And the headline here is, "A normal presidency is a moral presidency." Hollande in this interview talking an awful lot about all those corruption scandals that have recently surrounded President Nicolas Sarkozy. Of course, it's hard to keep track of them all, but we've had those envelopes full of cash that he supposedly received from France's richest woman, the briefcases of cash that was supposedly exchanged between friends of his and Pakistani intermediaries in Switzerland that were meant to be illegal kickbacks from arms deals, and the suitcases of cash he allegedly received from African presidents. Now, all of this, of course, gives his opponents in the presidential election plenty of ammunition. So that's what Hollande is talking about today. He says that since Sarkozy took power, the relationship between the presidency and the most rich and powerful people in the country, the relationship between the presidency and money, has not been normal. And what needs to be restored is not only respecting the laws that already exist over political campaign funding, but also creating much more distance between politicians and the wealthy, Hollande says. He does also say, though, that it would be foolish for the Socialists to assume that just because there are so many scandals swirling around the right at the moment that the presidency is already won. He says that would be the worst mistake they could make, and they need to convince the voters that not only are there plenty of problems with the incumbent president, but they do actually have a better alternative.
Now, staying with the French presidential election taking place next year, Free Paper 20 Minutes looks at centrist candidates.
Yes, their headline is "Who's going to take up Borloo's baton?" Now, they're talking about the former Environment Minister, the centrist Jean-Louis Borloo, who made an announcement at the weekend saying he's not going to stand in the presidential election, although he was expected to. So there's a longer analysis about this in the business paper Les Echos. They're looking at the question of, is there a centrist gap in French politics between Sarkozy and the Socialists? And if so, who might fill it? There's a few candidates. The former Defence Minister, Hervé Morin, he may run as a centrist candidate, but he's not very popular. Then there's the centrist party Modem. They're headed by François Bayrou, who got 18% of votes back in 2007, but his ratings have been on the slide ever since. There's the Green Party. Their candidate is Eva Joly, but she's considered a bit left-wing to pick up those centrist votes. And then there's the former Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin, Sarkozy's long-term rival, who, after being cleared in the Clearstream case, is expected to run for president since he founded his own party last year. And he's trying to position himself, the paper says, as a more humanitarian, more social justice-orientated type of conservative to try and win round naturally right-wing voters who aren't keen on Sarkozy himself.
Now, there's a major police corruption scandal here in France at the moment. What are the papers making of that this morning?
Well, it's on the front page of Le Parisien, which I don't have here, unfortunately, but hopefully we can have a look at it. Their headline is "Cops or Robbers." Now, they're looking at the case of Michel Neyret, the second highest-ranking police officer in France's second city, Lyon, who has now been arrested and is in custody, charged with influence trafficking, drugs trafficking, criminal conspiracy, and an assortment of other corruption charges. Now, they interview a police inspector inside the paper who say the line between cops and robbers isn't perhaps as clear as you might think. He says that lots of policemen do, in fact, take small bribes or even sexual favours to get minor charges to disappear from their files. And he says the police needs to be reformed because lots of them do get the impression they're above the law.
Now, moving beyond France, Le Figaro is having a look at the plight of Roma people in Bulgaria.
Yes, there's a presidential election coming up there in just 3 weeks, and Le Figaro says Roma people are becoming a big issue. There have been big demonstrations all across Bulgaria at the weekend against the Roma people because it comes from a case where a Roma man ran over a young Bulgarian man in a small village, and the same man was later arrested for drugs offences. That sparked demonstrations against the Roma people's supposed criminal immunity, and now the left-wing president of Bulgaria has issued a call to all the people and the media to stop issuing hate speech to the Roma because he's worried this could degenerate into ethnic violence. But the paper says the situation there is very worrying.
Whereas in Hungary, it's the government that's attacking Roma people. That's according to L'Humanité.
Yes, on the front of France's communist paper, L'Humanité, we've got Roma people forced to do labour in Hungary. They say that their reporter has been to some local areas in Hungary where the local mayors are from Jobbik, the very right-wing party, and they apparently are forcing Roma people who are unemployed to do forced labour on farms in sometimes awful conditions, including under blazing sun. Otherwise, their unemployment benefits are taken away. And L'Humanité says that the government in Hungary, the government of Prime Minister Viktor Orban, is actually not a run part against these extreme right views, but is in fact co-opting them.
OK, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much, Elena Casas, for that look at the French newspapers. A reminder now of our top stories. Amanda not